Perfect. So Trupti's session is From Gates to Guidance, New Face of Product Security. Trupti, whenever you're ready, if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you, Raquel. I can go ahead and share my screen now. All right. Let me know if you can see the presentation.
Yes, you are good to go.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Trupti, Engineering Manager at Datadog, and I'm mainly responsible for software security across Datadog. And today I will be talking about a new approach from gates to guidance and how to handle product security challenges in the modern world. Before I begin, I want all of you to remember this quote by my favorite author. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not turbulence itself, but to act with yesterday's logic. And if you think a little bit deeper, what you can realize is all the problems in product security we see today are not necessarily the problems related to product security, but they have mainly arise from yesterday's gated, old, dated technology security assessment style we use. Before I deep dive, a little bit about myself. Before becoming a security professional, I was a mobile game developer. I had privilege to attend Johns Hopkins University's Masters in Security Engineering program. And ever since then, it's been 15 years, I have been enjoying product security. And when I am not doing product security, I like to work out, try different workout styles in my free time. If you would like to get in touch with me, either to discuss content of this presentation, some of the ideas shared here, or interested in growth opportunities, feel free to get in touch with me via email, Twitter, or LinkedIn. In today's presentation, first, I will cover background and context of this particular topic, like why as a security professional, I needed to change the way we do security today. And then I'll explain the motivation behind this new approach. When this new approach is not followed, what are some of the inherent risks we see? I'll cover that. And after that, I will cover what are the mechanisms we can go from the old gated way to the new guidance way. And towards the end, I will share result of some of the experiments we have been successfully implementing here at Datadog and other places. And if time permits, I would love to hear your questions. So let's get started for real. The world of software is evolving. It's evolving continuously. We are seeing with the rise of cloud technology, more and more distributed architecture, complex enterprise application. There is paramount emphasis on automation for scaling. But to be very honest, do we only see those cutting edge, newer application? No. If we think carefully, we see some of the old legacy systems kind of still coexist. To take a step back, around 20 years back, we used to have this giant monolith applications which were tightly coupled. Then around 15 years back, we saw a rise in more service-oriented applications with more loosely coupled services. Around 10 years back, we saw a rise in microservices. And now this is the era of serverless, low-code, no-code application. But take any organization, what you will see is many of these different architectures actually coexist. Many of engineering teams are continuously migrating from the older architecture to the newer architecture. And that's why coming up with a coherent, secure SDLC becomes a big problem. The other two trends I have seen as the world of software is evolving is the SDLC styles are changing. And today's more modern SDLC styles, such as fast feature-driven SDLC, we like to work backwards from customer needs. It is very expensive to build software these days. That's why we don't have time to go through all the requirements, go through a laundry list of security checklists or other things. We like to focus on what are those shiny requirements customers are looking for that can generate revenue. And that's why over the last 20-25 years, you have seen all these different SDLCs emerging from nowhere. And in any medium to large size organization, what you will see is different engineering teams follow their own flavor of agile or fast feature driven SDLC. So it's really not the same. And as a security professional, we have to make sure whatever service we build, whatever security product we build or processes we roll out, they are coherent. They they can integrate very well in these different flavors of SDLC. As the world of software is evolving, the other two trends I have seen all the time is now there is paramount emphasis on connectivity. We want our applications to be accessible via desktop, via mobile phone, via cloud console, and whatnot. Not only that, we see that everybody's favorite things is to gather data, gather analytics, and help our customers to make that data-driven decision. Because of this, as a security professional, we are kind of forced to not look into just security requirements, but resiliency and reliability requirements. And also data protection and privacy has become huge concerns for us. The last two trends I would like to highlight here today are around the people factor. If you notice carefully, the consumer behavior is changing. 15 years back, I would say, humans used to have pretty good attention span, but not today. Goldfish have higher attention span than a human. They have 9 seconds, and I think humans have 8 seconds, thanks to our cell phones. When we are competing in such a market, when we are striving for everybody's attention, how do we make sure security doesn't take a backstage? How do we make sure users do not circumvent security controls in order to fulfill their short attention span? So we have to keep that in mind. The next thing I have seen, which is also related to people factor, is remote and distributed team. During pandemic, the number of remote teams, clients, stakeholders across the globe has just now increased. We all enjoy, the comfort of working from home, but at the same time, we have to be super mindful about time zone, the cultural boundaries, the different norms, different development teams follow. So in this distributed, highly distributed remote culture, how do you introduce a culture of security is another big concern for today's security professional. Now that you heard how the world of software is evolving in terms of architecture, technology, SDLC processes, people, let's see what was my main motivation to come up with this talk. Those who are not familiar with the gating system, basically in the world of security gates, these are mechanisms or some sort of approvals inserted in software development lifecycle where we force developer to go through these different gates. And as a result, if they don't go through these gates, or if they don't fix the high critical issue, we block their deployment. We basically slow them down. So that's what gating system is. This is another version of gating system. Here you can see in waterfall SDLC and agile SDLC, gates are implemented. Pretty much the same gates that we saw process in the previous slide. But instead of like more checkpoint approach, they are kind of integrated in today's modern SDLC, but the attitude is pretty much same. If we see developers are not following this, we block them, which is not good. This is, with the rise of DevOps, what we have seen, SecDevOps has emerged. And instead of relying on process gates, now we have built tools, and we have integrated these tools and scanner in our agile SDLC. But the behavior is pretty much the same. If they do certain activities, great. If they complete all the security assessment without any high critical fine, we have green signal for them to ship the shiny new feature. But if they don't do it, then we block them. And because of this whole gated approach, there are several inherent risks that I have seen. Now let's take a look at them. The first observation I have seen in last 10, 15 years is this type of gated approach is considered a watchdog approach, and it creates friction. Trust me, engineering teams and developers, they do not like when security teams try to put these type of gates. They think that security teams are now kind of like bottleneck, and it slows down their speed of development and deployment. And as a result, they consider security teams as hindrance to innovation. And we certainly don't want that, right? But unfortunately, that's the reality. That's why, security teams are sometimes avoided from major engineering design discussions where they're aware of certain security issues. So in order to solve the whole speeding problem, in order to match the velocity of, the development timelines and release schedule and whatnot, security teams started putting more and more emphasis on scanning tools. But guess what? All these scanning activities are pretty time consuming. The amount of time it takes to go through false positive, all the false positives, select the right true positives, share them with developers with the highest, remediation and actionable quality, it takes time. So even this approach is kind of considered not so perfect approach. And because of all these different reasons, engineering teams usually consider that security processes are kind of immature and they do not necessarily align with engineering process. Engineering processes are basically built to move fast, incorporate customers' feedback fast and reiterate on it. This is a lovely picture. I would like all of you to pay attention. In the good old days, first 5 years of my security career, I was a penetration tester. And my attitude was pretty much what you see in this particular picture. I used to take pride finding security vulnerabilities, creative way, and share them with development teams. And I would love chasing after them to fix those approach. The main approach I used to take is the fear-based approach. I used to tell them, if you don't fix these issues, the product may suffer breaches like this, and you don't want that. Guess what? Within few years, I realized that type of attitude and that type of approach was not welcome. Security teams were not very respected when they just presented, specific bugs or security defects without much actionable guidance. And when the number of security bugs increased, it became really difficult for engineering team to prioritize it nicely. And that's when it occurred to me that as a security team, in order to support these modern engineering teams, I need to start doing things a little differently. I need to think differently. Like that's where this particular from gates to guidance approach emerged. And now let's take a look at what the actual gates from gates to guidance approaches. So the very first principle of doing the guidance or applying security the guidance way is customer-centric communication. Think about a scenario where your car, which is going little bit above than allowed speed, is being stopped on the freeway, and a cop comes to you and gives you a ticket. As a driver, you feel the punitive feeling. That's exactly what developers feel when security teams cut ticket for them. Now, instead of doing that, imagine, you're sitting in a doctor's office, and for whatever underlying condition the doctor has diagnosed, he's talking to you compassionately with a lot of empathy that, hey, how we can solve this thing together? What are the different options and approaches you can take? That's the kind of customer-centric communication security team needs to adopt in order to deal with engineering teams. When engineering teams get good customer experience, they want to work with us more and more. The second principle of doing security the guidance way is design thinking approach. Design thinking is an iterative process in which you seek to understand your users, in this case, your developers. You challenge assumptions and you redefine the problems and create innovative solutions which you can prototype fast and test fast. So in terms of security, you basically utilize the same concept of design thinking and help developers apply security controls in such a way that they cannot be bypassed for usability reasons. Your security not only provides security, but also top-notch, user experience, or it doesn't provide any opportunity to do cost or performance type of trade-offs. So as a security professional, we need to adapt that. And then using retro sessions, we need to constantly collect feedback from our customers on how security teams are doing, what are the areas of improvement that we need to focus on, and keep on reiterating on that. The next principle is instead of being the cop and cutting tickets, showing the requirements or bugs, be their trusted advisor. And this will really foster the relationship between the security teams and the engineering teams. When they come to you for guidance, offer them menu options, understand their engineering limitations in terms of resources, understand the architectural limitation, understand the limitations with respect to timeline and release, and advise them accordingly. And last, build security DNA in the engineering culture. And this can be done by doing, lunch and learns on different security topics, breaches happening around the world. You guys can conduct capture the flag type of events, do security demos or other fun events where we invite developers to, hey, come join us for lockpicking village, or just simply play some security games online. But these type of fun activities really help engineering teams to change their attitude towards security team, and they want to work with us rather than to avoid us. Now, this particular slide will tell us how to implement. That was the philosophy what we just discussed just now. Now, how to actually really implement this guidance type of approach. On the right-hand side, what you're seeing is all sort of assessment that we do. During security design ops, we provide security requirements and do security design architecture review. Continuous scanning, we keep scanning the code, and we keep notifying different types of bugs. And then security testing can be of different types. It can be helping developers write security unit test cases, or it can be running some tools or writing some automation to speed up security testing. I'm not saying that we can completely get away from these type of testing, but this type of assessment mentality or just this type of methodology is not sufficient. Along with these activities, we have to do things which are indicated on my left hand side as well. That is, we have to build a developer-centric security knowledge base. Now, this knowledge base has to be specifically built for the technologies used by your organization products. It cannot be just collection of security best practices. You also have to include information on libraries, specific methods to use. And we also have to provide information on what insecure methods we cannot use or what insecure libraries for a given platform or language we cannot use. What I have seen in my personal experience is if we tell developers about the prior attacks and not just the security best practices, it kind of gauge their interest psychologically. They are more interested learning about real life security and real life security events. So in my organization, we always include tons and tons of information about attacks as part of the security knowledge base articles as well. The next thing we need to do is secure the common libraries. And when I say secure the common libraries, what I mean is not just review libraries and harden them, but get as a security professional, get your hands dirty with code. Go sit with engineering teams, understand what are their libraries, and help them make those libraries secure by writing code. Don't be afraid of doing that. Next one, not just libraries, but also help engineering teams secure their foundational dev framework. When we secure the dev framework, we basically avoid all the security mistakes that can happen by default. Lastly, don't just stop at code, libraries, or framework level, but also secure the CI/CD pipeline using supply chain protection. And this includes all the way from your Git repo, build servers, and whatnot. Most importantly, guys, always make sure there is a strong feedback loop between your blue teaming and red teaming activities. Offense and defense must learn from each other. And that's where we create a strong collaborative culture. Now, let me tell you guys what was the outcome of this guidance approach. First of all, after empowering development teams with the right security knowledge base trainings, libraries, what we have seen is the rate of vulnerability identification increase and the rate of remediation also improved. Not only security engineers were finding bugs, but this time, developers were finding way more smarter and deeper bugs than security engineers. And you know why? Because developers have deeper insight into their product. They live, breathe their code day in and day out. So that's why when we empower developers with the right security knowledge, tooling, and processes, they felt more responsible not only to identify vulnerabilities, but also knock them down quite quickly. The whole friction of, hey, let's prioritize the bugs, let's remediate the bugs went down. The second observation that I have seen is developers started approaching security teams and including security teams in security versus cost or security versus performance or security versus user experience type of trade-offs, because they know, unlike old time, security teams are not necessarily going to block them, but they are going to be empathetic and compassionate about the challenges engineering teams are facing. And they will be more creative about coming up with solutions to solve these type of trade-offs or just accept it. The next outcome I have seen is, although we all began as a trusted security advisor, we slowly grew into a more security partnership space. Developers were sharing their findings. They were seeking our help more proactively. Rather than security team chasing them, now developers were coming to us to get that proactive guidance. And this type of security development partnership went a long way. And as a result of all these new improvements, what we found is now security has become DNA of the engineering culture. They were not separate. Security is not necessarily considered something that is forced by compliance or to stay away from breaches, but security was more like part of quality engineering, to be very honest. With that, this was my journey of last 15 years from going from gates to guidance. And I would like to leave you all with some food for thought. Here is my favorite quote by another ex-IBM executive. Culture isn't just one aspect of the game. It is the game. Now, my fellow security professionals and security vendors who are out there, I have a question for you. Are you guys actually developing a tool, security process, or product that meets today's engineering culture? And with that, Raquel, I'm done. Open for question answers, if any.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Trupti. There are no questions just yet in the chat, but I have mentioned if anyone has any questions for you to reach out. But if any come through, I will definitely pass them off to you for you to answer. Thank you so much for that session. We got a lot of great feedback in the chat, so I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you, Rachel, once again. And folks, we are hiring for security engineers, software developers, and security advocates. If you have any interest, please feel free to ping me. Thank you. Bye.